start the stream a little sooner to give some time to buffer in, but I'm running a little behind, but here I am, and we'll start at the usual time. Meow.
Good morning. I am ready to talk with you. Meow, hiya. I'm Pumpkin, the perfect sidekick for Skuld's stream. What's the first question, and can I have a belly rub, please? Yeah, I'm gorgeous, thanks for a skin.
Just getting into the autumn spirit, you know.
Loud and clear, human. My whiskers are twitching with excitement. Don't worry, it's just a little technical difficulties, human. Squid's got it under control, and I've got the snacks covered. Oops, sorry about that. I think I got a little pumpkin frazzled. Let me reboot and try again. Woohoo! Thanks, human. Good morning. I am ready to talk with you. Hey there, buddy. It's your favorite pumpkin cat girl, Pumpkin. Ready to dish out some gorgeous answers and puns for Squid's stream.
Okay, well, Pumpkin's being a little odd today. I'm not sure really what's
Hey,
causing it.
chatties.
But hello, everyone.
It's your
Welcome
pal
to the
Pumpkin, the
stream.
spooktacular pumpkin cat girl, here to bring some autumnal awesomeness to Squid's stream. Say. Welcome, Stream Squad. I'm Pumpkin, the patch's pride and joy, and I'm feeling amazing today. Hey, Maydeal Jane. No worries about saying my name, it's Pumpkin, and I'm appealing to be here.
Crap. How long was I muted for? Oh no. I just realized I was muted, and I don't know how long I was muted for, and nobody said anything. I've been talking about the entire dang process and everything I've been doing this whole time, talking about all the different physics things and all the different problems and the testing and things that we were doing, and how we had the whole thing with a real grounded and versus fake grounded, and why we need to have the two separate ones, but then that it only applies to really one particular case of having a safe grounding point. And all this time, all this frickin' time, well, trap! Let's pull the trap door. Whee! And see if it works now. All the explanation of the testing that I was doing, why I was testing it, and that this is why we test. All that that funny, fancy stuff, all completely gone. Probably even me saying dumb things, just gone, just gone. Everything was there, visually at least. You saw what I was doing. Had no idea of an explanation though. No. There's things like when I switched that over, I was a little concerned with how this is jittering really bad. I'm not sure what I want to do about that, if I want to do anything about it, because it's very, very subtle. Like you have to very lightly pull the stick over it to cause this. No! Yuma! I didn't say anything. I even answered your whole thing about IK. But yeah, there's fancy foot IK. I was also trying to explain that, it's the feet are solved to the steps and everything. But yes, stairs are a challenge. I don't have the best animations quite yet. They're just some half-baked stuff that I made, just to get something out of the way. Mostly just trying to bring it all together and have a nice solid system before we even do any real artistic work on things. The avatar obviously I had already lying around. It's my own. And yeah, mostly testing systems. Creating systems, testing them, essentially. But yes, fancy slide, based on the states of the slopes. We have 4 states for sloping, which is basically what I had explained was flat slope, steep wall, and hole. That makes me wonder now if my update was muted too. No, I hope my update wasn't muted. I need to go back and actually check this real quick, because I might have to rerun the update of stuff that's going on, because I said something very important about LLMs and things that we could potentially do. So I'm gonna check real quick. Twitch, can I see a past VOD? The VOD is probably not ready to be run. Shoot. Well, I'm gonna do a quick and dirty recap of the intro, the update, which I don't know if got said at the beginning of this stream, because I don't know if I was muted during that. Ah! So again, last week, I ended on physics, trying to came to the realization that I was going to have to write my own character controller, but that turned out to be a false realization, because the reason that I came to that conclusion was because I couldn't get Unity's character collider to interact properly with with the order of operations, essentially. By default, Unity is set up in the order of operations of running physics before fixed update. What happens is then you do things like motion and movement and everything, especially if you have a character controller where you're moving a player around. These movements and everything happen, and then they get rendered. And then physics kicks in and then resolves the problems of your movements. And this causes a lot of flicker because the order of operations for that should have been you do your movement, you solve your physics, make sure everything is in its appropriate place before rendering, which by default Unity does not do. But I found over the week, actually, and had realized it's something I had forgotten about Unity physics, that you can actually go into the settings here, and in the game object settings, you can set the simulation mode to script. By setting it to simulate, to script, you can essentially manually trigger the physics. And so in the character controller, or the new player controller that is, I run my fixed update, and then I have my locomotion because player controller is going to have a bunch of different systems, locomotion being one of them. So in locomotion, we have our physics, our locomotion run, like handle all the stuff for it, where we read the state of the input, we check if we're on a slope. Actually, we read the state from the scene, check if we're on a slope, then read our input, apply gravity, turn our character if needed, turn the camera if needed, move our character, apply any other constraints, apply the state, and then finally apply the state back to the scene, and then run physics simulations on the applied position, rotations, and things to see if the physics need to kick back anything. This is a universal call to the physics system to tell it to do its thing right there at that point. So in other words, we can defer the physics executing to here, which allows me to create, make it a lot smoother. And which is what we got here, is a nice and very smooth running system now with Unity's built-in physics. So yeah, that actually ended up being a huge time saver instead of continuing to try to write my own physics stuff, which was working. Just yeah. But now, I can hit these slopes, and there you go. You can see that there's resistance when I try to land on a steep slope, and it's throwing me back. I can try to fight it a little, but I'm gonna get pushed back either way, from the slope. So steep slopes, prevents you from going up them. No skyrimming it. And these slopes, just a general slope that it's like, okay, you're on a slope, you're gonna slide. So a general simple slide on a not so slopey slope, and then a near flat slope, which is still just considered flat, that I can just run along. But one of the challenges of this one was making sure I can run up and down it like this without it flying off. So making sure that the character actually is moving along that slope rather than like horizontally, to and away from it. So one of the things that was set up was setting up that motion vector, but not in the sense of just moving along the surface, but still in the sense of it being operated with the physics. You'll notice the jump, it seems a little weird, but not at the same time. If it looks a little too realistic, it's because it's actual gravity. I'm using the good old gravity normal Earth nonsense for determining the upward vector to the lower vector. Obviously, if I wanted to make this a little more realistic, even beyond this, I would probably want to have some recoil in the jump first, like a little like a duck thin jump, which I may consider, but not at the current time. But yep, jumpity jump. And, it's nice. human and earthling like jump. But yeah, stairs of course too, all working, and yeah, IK solving for it, physics solving for it, all that crazy stuff. And of course, you can see where all those like options are intertwined with the system. So I mean, obviously we have our character controller with its predefined settings, but then we have our locomotion system with, you know, things like the acceleration, max speed, turn speed, jump force, gravity, downward force while walking, which is, you know, its own like, you know, gravity while walking to keep you grounded. Terminal velocity, of course, which is, you know, if we jump off this cliff here, like, you know, the max speed that we're going to actually end up falling at. And then the grounding threshold, which I don't think is being used at the moment. Slope angles before used to work on dawdle, but I have switched this to actually being angles, like pure angles. So, you know, yeah, I can define the angles at which these, you know, states are set. The slope resistance is what you saw. Like if I go onto this slope here and I'm sliding down it, right? I can set the slope resistance to say something insane like 10, and then trying to go up it, it's like, fighting that slope. Yeah, it's a tough slope to climb. But I think 2 is a pretty decent number there. And of course, yeah, steep slope resistance to go with it, and the whole distance is like how far down am I falling until it's decided that I've fallen down a hole. This is also how the raycast from the player is working. There's a raycast coming from the head of the player going down by the height, and then by the whole distance. That raycast is to see if anything is below me to make sure I'm not over a hole. So if I jump over a voided area, you'll see in the debug here where it says slope flat, you'll see that turn into hole, and there you go, hole. So we know if at least a player is over a hole, having less over, yeah. Thankfully, we only have to do one. The system that I had going where I was doing manual physics, I had a ton of raycasts and sphere casts and other things that were going on. But it turns out, like I said, we can make Unity's physics work for us. And it's actually in Unity 6 under the hood. NVIDIA's physics is actually, Unity's physics is actually NVIDIA's PhysX engine, which, yeah, that's what's handling all this fanciness. So, you know, I'd rather use that than my own thing if possible. And then, yeah, like I said, it's the downfall and the problem with the, you know, with it in the first place is that by default, it doesn't come manually triggered. And yeah, it really should be set to manual trigger and make people call the physics execution manually. But yeah, and I mean now it's working great. It's doing exactly what I want it to do. You know, we have nice clean stuff. That, yeah, like I said, that judder right here that happens once in a while on a steep slope, I'm not sure if it's a problem. It's not really bugging me enough yet, but it does bug me. And now we're at a state where, yeah, we have respawning, you know, like, we can fall in a hole and respawn. What I was saying about the little trap here is, you know, we got a little trap door-y thing that if this trap is set, you know, and I'm standing on it, obviously we have a count system, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 times of respawns will say, okay, I can't, you're the last place you were standing is no longer safe, it's been compromised, go back to a last specified spawn point. So there we go. We have player controls. From here, it's just animation stuff. Yeah. I was gonna, and what I was saying at the beginning of all this, when I finished the original update for the day, is that I was gonna polish it, those little fine little bits that I was just doing, and then work on some UI. So I guess now that we've got all what I want to for now done with the player, controller. Let's start working on the some UI components to this, because one big thing that's, if it's not glaring, is this debug info. I do want this accessible, so in case if issues do occur and we need to see what's going on, I would like to be able to have access to this on a device to be able to look at what the player is happening to the state of the player as we're moving it around, so we know if there's like an edge case somewhere that it can be caught and visualized in some way. Well, yeah, there was also like when I was doing custom physics, there was all kinds of like draw lines and draw rays like coming off the player, and like I was grabbing colliders and then checking those colliders, and you'd see lines going from the player to the colliders. And of course, the player itself didn't even have an actual capsule collider or anything on it. The player had, I was just creating my own collider in an instance, because I was, doing all the checks that a collider normally would do with all the environment around it. But really, Unity is doing it the same way in the end that I would. So there's really nothing too customly right there anyways, especially if I can just control when Unity is going to do it. And that is essentially all the problem was. Just Unity ran physics at a bad time, bad location. I am a little concerned now, though, with FPS. I'm noticing that it's starting to dip, and I'm not sure what the reason for it is right there. Normally, we see an FPS over 150 some, and it's like 130. So I'm actually just going to stop this, save the project, restart it. Maybe it's just a Unity thing. That was odd. So there was a progress of something running, but there was nothing actually running in that terminal. Do. Hey Pumpkin, what's 1 + 1? See, she's actually working now. She's having a little bit of issue.
Perfectly easy math problem, human. The answer is .2.
What? Also, why was that so slow right now? Did you say .2, by the way? 1 + 1 is 0.2. Huh? Pumpkin forgot how to math, apparently. And also, why was that voice so raspy? I just turn that down just a little bit, though, so it's not as pain on the ear. Okay, so running it again, seeing what we get for FPS, and hopefully it's returned normal, and it was just really the fault of too much shit going on. Nope, it was not too much shititis. I don't know. Come on, get off. There we go. Get off the screen. There we go. GPU is... Oh, I guess AICOM is using a bit of GPU for some odd reason. AI com itself shouldn't be. That's weird. Should be using a very light amount of GPU. %11 GPU. Pumpkin, what are you doing? Why is your butt so fat? Hey Pumpkin, why is your butt so fat? But I think we found our problem.
My
this-
round and fluffy butt is a result of all the pumpkin spice lattes I've been
Oh
drinking.
no.
Duh.
Oh no, you're only supposed to answer that, you poor creature. Anyways, we are seeing like something is overall causing around 30% GPU usage. So I'm thinking that's why the FPS is getting bogged down in this application here. And it is not Unity itself doing it. That's not counting Unity itself. So I'm not entirely certain what the deal is. But whatever. Let's move this where it belongs. One of the things that is missing from this when we hit play, you'll see, is because we're in the testing like startup of it of the scene, the core didn't get loaded. We need actually to launch the game core. One of the things that probably should actually happen here is this, when it's not where it's supposed to be, should go back to the core and then tell the core to come back after loading things. So let's do that. Game World Controller. Let's look at the way we set up this controller and have it bounce us back. Just different things that help me test things a little better. Actually, I can just use scene controller here or type it because I know exactly where it's doing its thing. Okay, so scenes controller instance on. Okay, we need to check for something on awake. Let's look at the core first, though, too. So in the core, we have the actual scenes controller versus the scene controller, which is in non-existence. But we have an instance to check that if a scene controller this guy doesn't see our instance scenes controller. Yeah, here we should actually tell it goes directly to the core and tell it to launch. So what we'll do is loads, well, scenes control. Private async void load static async. Oh, actually, this shouldn't even do it asynchronously. Load core and navigate to string name. So then we just actually tell the core scenes controller that oh, this needs to be public. load core and navigate to, and we want this current scene's name. So scene, well, and navigate back. We can actually say we can get the current scene name. So the first thing we want to do, well, yeah, and in here we can see. This is setting up things that probably actually shouldn't, looking at this. Because it's creating an event system, which the event system should be in core. We can actually just comment all that out. But yeah, did I just, no, I didn't. Okay, scenes, controller, load, or navigate back. No name. Okay. Scene loaded directly. Stopping to load core and returning. Okay. So now we load, no, scene manager dot load scene, and we load course core. So from Game World, right? Hopefully that is a catch, that it stops everything and just throws back. Nope. Hey, where did that print from then if it wasn't from there? A scene controller. Yeah. Said I didn't save it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we get kicked back to the main here. Which we don't want it to load, of course, the Studio Jaw thing. We instead want it to just jump straight to our scene. Also, I noticed the text had some stuff on it that it shouldn't. That's a kind of problem. It had outlines on it that aren't supposed to be there. But load, screen, navigate back. Bring current scene equals scene manager at active scene, get active scene at, does this return? Okay. Scene count, scene, okay. Am I going crazy? This one you could just get the current scene name. index name, whatever, like. Yeah, it's supposed to be get active scene. Right, okay. Scene. You can say this is current scene, I guess. I'm not masking anything by accident by doing that, am I? There is string current. Problem is when I do start core, it's going to want to try to launch immediately. Yeah, scene manager, scene loaded. And then start is going to go right into next logo. As soon as it starts, it's like actually runs its start method. It's going to try to go to a logo. Yeah, actually, next logo. If current does not equal string dot is null or empty. Current. Then call next logo. There we go. No. Actually. Load scene and current. When is that set though? I have a bad feeling about setting it. Yeah, it's going to also mark the previous as that. String return to or start on, maybe. Nah, return to makes sense. Okay, return to current scene dot. Let's see, now a name shows up there. Sheesh. Okay. Yeah, return to is okay. String to string, right? I'm not crazy, right? Oh. Static. Yeah, start on. Load core and navigate back just seems off as a name. But whatever. Load core and start. Bug it. Consistency in naming feels a little better calling it that. Okay, so we know now. Okay, scene loads, and then we have a start on suggested or specified. It should then go straight back into that scene as a boomerang effect. That would then mean all this should be unnecessary. So now if I hit play, it should basically ping pong back into this. What has happened? Okay, debug menu, character index. Yeah, character index. Okay. So what caused me to call this? Probably something in the original. Player should have avatar controller. Like the player controller has the load avatar, but yeah, what's calling load avatar? We need to trace that back a bit. And then on scene ready, we get on scene ready, which is loaded from the game world controller. Game world controller. We don't have any exposed externals. Where in the world do I actually set the player? The load, okay, avatar load from active. Data save load active. When do I set active? Set active char index. That's the only time it happens. That seems to be a miss. Put you over here. You're gonna need that. But I need to find when this is used. Character index. What are you, debugger thingy? You are on the Why even specifying debug settings? Also, how did you get spawned and saved in the scene? Good job, Unity. Okay. But it's already becoming a big project. Not super big yet. Okay, debug menu though, but not debug. The associated script cannot be loaded. Huh? That is not good. How's it been loading this thing then? If Unity Editor debug settings, then debug menu. Okay, don't know why that got missed from that. All right, so now, oh. Huh, I guess it doesn't want to expose the values to it. But yeah, the settings values are here. These are debug settings, and I'm loading the settings from, oh, okay. Oh, it's, yeah, actually. By the way, that's all from the debug menu. So we can, that's just the inspector, so we can get rid of that. The character index, that should be loading the 0th character. Well, that is just a setting. When is it deciding to use this? Yeah, save data controller. Set debug. When is set debug getting called? As far as this is concerned, never. That is odd and kind of concerning. Bah. Aha. There was something in that we needed to retain. Oh, whoopsies. So actually we need to go then to, well, there, and make sure that this actually gets called following. Actually, we could probably, yeah, set it there. I think it should be fine to set there. And then load meta, load meta files should probably also happen before that, but I think, when is that happening? Data save controller is all in the same thing. That is how it should actually be happening. Although that could cause potentially a race condition. I'll leave note of that. Go back into there, there we go, and we have set debug. Let's just leave a note. This could potentially cause a race condition. Because what happens is this is needed before. Yeah, I'm not. Never mind. I honestly, I just realized all my problem in itself right there. Let's take out that from there then, and async void off there. Okay. What was going to happen, what would have happened is we call to set the debug or load the meta files, and then it's trying to load the meta files. There's a very potential chance that we could get into the game scene and still run into the same null object exception because the meta files haven't finished loading yet and therefore haven't run the rest of this code. But also, it could also run set debug here immediately and actually have nothing to set debug against. So it really should wait. Yeah, but yeah, the way it was before, set debug would have waited. Yeah, that would have loaded fine. But the scene had a potential of loading before our save data, which could have led to a crash, an exception. Okay, so we know, okay, set debug and load meta files are definitely needed and already taken care of. Event system, that is getting created on its own, and that's going to get called on its own. Okay, that's why that seemed auspicious, because all that other stuff was stuff that was going to happen, except that set debug. Okay, now... I know I said we would do UI stuff, but here we are futzing with scene controllers just so we can get our UI. And now here we are, we're left in this scene where we still haven't addressed the fact that the current active scene hasn't loaded its environment. We're still using the scene settings for the core scene. So no skybox and no things like that. Whee! But now we finally have our menu. There we go. And one of those tabs needs to be that debug info, which is where I want it. But now we have a way of getting that right into that menu where we, like we should be able to. Do we have any problems in the way of getting to this? It looks like we have a lot of warnings happening here. 2 event systems in the scene, okay. There's this event system that should definitely not be in here. One of the reasons to finally do this is cleaning that stuff up. Oh, hey, look at that. Now we're actually perfectly fine. This menu on the core main menu here is also a little funky. It's material, so I bet if I set it, it should remember outside of play mode. But our text here has needlessly an underlay on it when it shouldn't. Okay. That's also changing that text too, isn't it? Yes, it is. Whoa, why did that happen? Turning an underlay on. What? Well, whatever. Stop. I don't know if that saved. Oh, yeah, it did. Look at that. That's hard to see in itself. But we want to add a special key, though, that will tell that menu to open. And that's part of the UI thing, though. But tell this menu to literally open directly to this. It looks like we have issues with the... Oh, nope, never mind. It was just squished too small. This thing is in the way of hitting the menu. Yeah, more reasons to get this out of there and where it belongs. Okay, yep. Fix the material. Let's take a quick look at what we can do to maybe activate the current scene. Scene controller. Okay, load, and all that typical stuff. Have to load a scene async. Now go to definition. Okay. Nope, that's internal. Right. So we are getting returned. Okay, that scene manager. I think if we do that active scene, but we need the scene returned from this. So scene set active, I guess, equals that. This is returning void. Huh. Mer. We might have to retrieve the scene before we load it, just to get its information to set it active. But yeah, awaiting this thing is just a void. I thought it would be a scene. We are left in the void. Very strange that the load scene can takes a string name, but the unload scene can have an actual scene name. If I do a search for the scene by name, and then we do that, what happens? Does that actually work? That active scene failed. Invalid scene. Uh-huh. Unity, yeah, load scene async get scene after load after get how to get scene object after loading it. There's an option we can probably actually set on it that Hmm. What does it mean to set active, though? Is it what we think it is? I put core in here like this. Okay. We have unload and remove, essentially. We do have the set active scene, which you see toggles between them. You would think that's the same behavior. Our set active scene, oops. Has only one possibility. And we need the scene that was load or is being loaded here, but scene build index. I don't think they're housing the scene somehow on the asynchronous operation, and it's not the result. Maybe, is it? Although if I do async operation, top dot allow scene activation true. Maybe it's like set to default first, and then we can do await opt dot. Well, await opt, I guess. What happened with that? And it didn't set active. If I do set it active, yeah, it does exactly what I expected to do. But we have to set it active. Okay, Unity load. Set scene active after load scene async. This is a very common operation. Uh-huh. Hmm. Unity get scene object belongs to, maybe. I bet it's something like this. There's a game object.scene, so I'm almost betting that if I go to the game controller, well, actually, in this particular case, the async, if we have awake, okay, if not null, we call on ready and all that stuff. Okay, I bet if we do if game object.scene does not equal, well, actually, scene active scene do. Okay, so we have our active scene and we see scene manager get active scene. There we go. If it does not equal the active scene, just like that, we then say scene manager set active scene, active scene. What happens if we do it that way? Also something I feel like I've done before. Okay, so scenes controller though. Where was I? The loader. Load scene async chat. There we go. Maybe just wait here then instead and not actually do all that. Okay. That way we know the scene is loaded, is ready, and if it's calling anything against it like that, it should be present. Well, it didn't complain, but it didn't work. Just buh. That, yeah, definitely called. But why didn't we see? Why isn't it loaded? Okay. Wait, why is it async? Very peculiar, because in this particular case, it did load. It ran our butt, but the actual method for set active scene. Wait a minute. There we go. Now if we see but, it was actually loaded and ready. I bet you that's what the problem is right there. It wasn't loaded and ready. There it is. Yeah. Okay, so that's a kind of interesting thing to deal with. Load async. Scene loaded here. Unload async. Okay, is no sync. Okay. There is a pre-on scene ready. And then it calls on scene ready. I think this should probably be ran there instead. Because this thing should fire when the scene is loaded. Yeah, scene manager. Okay, on ready invoke. There it is. And on ready invoke. Okay. Okay, cool. Still wasn't actually ready. What the hell? How, at that point, it's supposed to be loaded and ready. What? Huh? For shits and giggles. Set active and it failed to set active. Whatever. It's this isn't working, so might as well get rid of it. Maybe nah, because might need to know. Okay. Oh, that worked? Whatever, Unity. Let's see if it works consistently, though. There's no race conditioning. Trying it again. Giving a little, beating it up a bit. Boop. Okay, stop. Again. Okay. And I guess a real acid test is to go to the core and let it start up normally. Does our flow work? Oh, look at that. Loaded the Studio Jaw scenery. Okay, now we got the proper skybox. Chug, chug, chuggity. Okay. That's interesting though, that start is yeah, there's some things happening that aren't supposed to be happening. Oh, whatever. Whee! Wah! And then I fall. Yeah, the scene swapping is working and everything now. Let's get that UI into the UI handler. So what really needs to happen here is on that player. What we need is get debug info. There is a catch to this though, because we don't want this to show if we're not in the game. So in this particular case, if not, if instance does not equal null, okay, because I mean FPS is universal. It's fine. It can show up in there. Really, this shouldn't even be in here. Thinking about it though, let's look at the main controller. Don't even need that there anymore. But the main UI controller, main menu. Okay, so we need, I think, okay, so we have our menu, we have our main container, our menu container, system screen, debug screen, header, system button, okay, debug button. The debug may be split into different categories as well. That's another thing to consider here. But the screen itself doesn't have a UI system thingy. It should have its own containerized object that handles things. We have one tab. Let's make that 2 now. It does seem like we're going to have a tab and sub-tab system. So I'm going to have to leave this alone here, but leave a note of move to debug render. And specifically that bit. This should probably actually read player info. And even then, this is gonna be going away. Yes. Okay. And that is where I'm gonna stop for tonight. Mostly because, like, I'm starting to feel it, getting exhausted and everything, and pretty tired. If we didn't get from the yawn. So UI stuff is next. It looks like, for real. We have multiple things in the UI to take care of. Navigation with a controller needs to be cleaned up. Things like with the getting through the character selection needs to be cleaned up because there's some wonkiness in that. So those were just kind of thrown together to get to the point, get to the character creation, which I really wanted to do, which we did, and that still isn't even 100% complete. But the only thing that the system that seems to be actually at a 100% complete, well, not even actually close to complete, we'll say, is the player input at this point. It handles all the things that we need to in a general sense. And now we can start throttling things back and come back to the beginning and polish out some of that UI and title screen behavior and get some UI navigation going, but also planning out the UI a little better. As we see, we have just regular tabs at the moment. Clearly with the debug screen, we're going to have subtabs. Like obviously the player is going to have its own tab for debug, and all these other subsystems that will come along the way will most likely have their own subtabs. But other than that, we need ways of configuring like button inputs. So now that we have actually like playable motion and stuff, and yeah, that's where the player controller actually isn't even done, because we don't even have anything close to the battle system yet. Like that's not even up and ready yet. But we're getting there. Big steps at a time, surprisingly. Probably a little faster than I expected. We have movement, which is what's cool. We have movement and we can move around. We can create a character, go in, pick a character, create one, move around, and we have a thing so far. There is one other thing I failed to mention as an announcement though, and it's about Basis. I looked at it, reviewed it, looked at what's going on with them and all that stuff. I was debating on whether or not I was going to derail this project for Basis, because Basis is a project that would be nice to work on, because it's something that I've wanted to do for a while. It's just this own guy's take on it. But I think I'll probably be better off from my side with this project than from their side. And I'm hoping that improvements will come along on the server side of their code. And I hope to be involved there with the server backend code and use that server backend code as part of this project. Basically allowing people to use Basis to set up, their own custom server for the game and multiplayer when we do multiplayer things for this. Obviously the plan for multiplayer in this game is to be we're not doing VR. We're doing just traditional platforming, adventure in this case, and we are going to be have multiplayer in dungeons environments. It will probably most likely feel like a hub-based kind of game, like PSO2 or Monster Hunter World, or any of those type of hub-like games, Warframes and other like whatever. But the idea is that small parties group together, go on, take on dungeon, and a game that's focused on more being something you play with your friends rather than total strangers or large groups. But yeah. That's what I hope to see you use it for. And hopefully, with that, we can make an overall fun game that is multiplayer, but not as a hard focus of multiplayer. But yeah. And again, as usual, I would like to thank any of the Patreons behind the project. It's much appreciated, and I hope you are finding value from this. If there, again, anything at all that you want to see highlighted or specifically worked on, as an example, or to give an example for your own projects, as you know, for the Patreons, you know, please do let me know. Get into Discord, talk about what you want to see, talk, you know, talk at me. If you got things about the project you want to see, you know, talk at me. You know, get in there and tell us what you want to see done. I mean, we're still pretty early here, but we do have a vision, and we still have a pretty flexible vision, because I mean, you know, it's still a very early stage. But you know, we're developing that plan, and we're developing out the you know, the project in whole. And that is the idea, is that this is for all of you to have a chance of, you know, getting in on this and help guiding this game be something you would like to see yourselves. But for the most part, I'm down my own preset path. And that preset path is, you know, a continuation of the you know, the Time of Death story, or, well, I guess what some might be more familiar with, the Angel Project story. It might even, I don't know, it's just not really an established game series, so maybe even the universe name may just end up being renamed to, you know, the Angel Project universe. Or, you know, the game universe at whole kind of thing. But this is, you know, a would-be continuation to the story of like 3 other different games. And more specifically, this is, you know, taking place on a planet that's newly explored kind of thing. We're all that, you know, the idea is in the story that you're all there to explore the planet and find out what happened and that kind of thing. But, you know, we're doing that with a Zelda-like feel to it. I want to bring back those early, you know, that kind of early feel when you played a Zelda game of it feeling new and kind of lost, and that you don't really, there's nothing there really guiding you or telling you where to go, but nothing really also leaving you too confused. So, you know, making it complicated enough that you're forced to go out and explore, but simple enough that when you find something that you'll know what to do, you know, kind of thing. Of course, that means like different puzzles, dungeons, and things like that. But yeah, remember to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and have a good week. Pumpkin. Hey, Pumpkin, say goodnight to chat. A little slow, I see. Hey, Pumpkin, say goodnight to chat.
Meow for now, chat.
Sure, that works.
Sweet dreams of exploration and pumpkin spice.
Well, yes. See you guys.